With those basics about the data, the documents, and how we work with data out of the way, let's shift our focus towards the CRUD operations and how we work with the different CRUD operations we may use in MongoDB. Now, first of all, what is CRUD all about? Why does this matter? You can use MongoDB for a broad variety of things. You might be building an application, or you have some data which is shipped to you as one file and you just want to run some analytics on it, or you're an administrator of a database, of a Mongo database. In all these cases, you will have to interact with the database. Now, in the application case, you might have an app, a mobile app or a website, where a user interacts with your code in the end, and that code can be written in Node.js, PHP, can be a desktop app written in C++, really no limits there, and you will have your MongoDB driver included in your application then. In the other cases, like for analytics, you might be using the business intelligence connector MongoDB offers, or you directly use the shell or some other import mechanism provided by your favorite BI tool. Or as an administrator, you'll work with the shell, like we're doing it right now. In all these cases, you want to interact with your MongoDB server. And for an application like a website, you typically want to be able to create elements. You want to be able to read, update, and delete them. Let's say you're building a blog. You want to be able to create new posts, to deliver those posts to your users. You want to be able to update these posts, so to change them, or maybe even delete them. With analytics, you also at least want to be able to read the data. You might never change it, but you want to read it. And as an admin, you might want to do all these things, to fix some data or to play around with it as we are doing it. So these are these core CRUD operations. And in the end, these operations are the only thing you do with your data. This is what you have your data for, to create it, manage it, read it, all these things. And you do these things with the MongoDB server, and they're, of course, in the end, on a collection and the documents in that collection. Now, for these CRUD operations, we have a couple of important queries you should keep in mind, and you'll also find in the official docs, of course, in case you want to check out all the details or dive a bit deeper. There's insert1, which we already saw. Insert1 allows us to insert some data into a collection, and all these methods I'm showing you are directly executed on a collection, as we did it in the last lectures. And we can also pass some options along with insert1. We'll not worry about that right now. We'll dive into that later though. Besides inserting one document, we can also insert many documents, by the way. So if you have a use case where you need to insert more than one document at a time, you can do that too. This is important for creating data. Now, for reading data, we got find, and find also allows us to pass in some arguments. Right now, we're calling it without anything, just find empty parentheses. Now, you can pass in a filter, and filters are very powerful. They allow you to narrow down the data you're retrieving, something you, of course, often want to do in a database. And you can also pass some options to find. And again, we'll take a close look at all these options and filters throughout the course too. You also got find one. The difference here is that find finds all matching documents. Find one simply gives you the first matching document it finds. Update one is then useful for changing one piece of data. And just as we can also insert many documents at once, we also have update many. Now, the update functions take 3 arguments because we can pass a filter to narrow down which document or documents to change, then the data describing the change, so what should be changed, and again, some options we can use to configure that process. We also got replace one in case we just want to replace a document entirely with a new one. There also is delete. We can delete one or delete many documents in a collection, and there we also pass in a filter to find out which document or documents to delete. Now, let's see all these things at an example. Again, having a look at our flight data here, which could look like this, basically the data we already worked with. And there, let's say this is the data we're using on our application. Our application might be a website where people working at an airport or at an airline can schedule a new flight, Therefore, they would create a new entry in our flight data collection. They can change information about this flight, so they can update information, for example, if the aircraft changed. They can cancel the flight, let's say, so they can delete it. And they can also display flight information on their own website in the mobile apps for their passengers. And therefore, they need to be able, or you need to be able, to read the data from that collection. This is our little example here, using the data we already set up. So let's get started and play around with these CRUD operations and our data.